Any thoughts on RPU, the future of RPU, global warming?
Well, for this particular commentary, I'm going to focus specifically on RPU and their responsibility to the community. We are in a very unique situation. I think for us it's a very positive situation. That is that we have a publicly owned utility. We the people should have our say in the future of RPU. And there are some things that I currently take exception to, particularly in the way that we're handling energy pricing. There's a number of things that we could be doing that are more fair to the ratepayers, but we're not. One of the unfortunate things is right now you get rewarded for using more power. The more power you consume, the actual lower per kilowatt hour usage you're actually paying, because you have a fixed fee up front and then you have a per kilowatt hour charge. Well, I don't agree with that. I think everything should be a per kilowatt hour charge, because I believe if you use 0 kilowatt hours in a month, your utility bill should be 0. I think that's one way to incent conservation, which is absolutely important to us in every facet imaginable. But I go beyond that. My background is in electrical engineering, and I also have a lot of experience with understanding power systems and utilities. And one of the things I'd like to see is I'd like to see us move towards a real-time pricing metric. And what that means is electricity is not always the same price depending on what time it is. On a hot summer day where energy use is huge, the air conditioners are humming, peak energy demand is out there, what that means is the average cost per kilowatt hour that the utility is paying is going to be very high. However, that night at 3 in the morning, demand is very low. The interesting thing is, it doesn't matter what time you're using your electricity, it's going to be the same price for you. And that's not good, because it causes us to use more peak energy, which is more expensive. What we need to do is take a look at real-time pricing, meaning whatever the utility is paying for electricity at that point, that's how much you're paying. And it's really a win-win situation. The utility has much less need to build peaking energy plants, which are enormously expensive to both build and operate. And then we also, it benefits the consumer, because it's very easy to take your dishwasher, put the 6-hour delay on and run it at 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, if you had the option of running your dishwasher for $4 or running your dishwasher for 50 cents, it's pretty easy to push that button and choose 50 cents. But this is something that also benefits the environment. There's less of a need for peak energy. It benefits the ratepayers because the cost of the utility is much, much lower. And then the third reason why this kind of strategy is really effective is things like solar power are in reality not cost effective with the way our current rate structure is. However, if you consider the fact that our highest energy demands are on the very hottest days and the very coldest days, where in Minnesota it tends to be very clear, not a lot of people necessarily realize that we have tremendous solar capacity here in Minnesota. In fact, we do. And if in these peak times the utility is paying 20 cents per kilowatt hour, that's a great time to have a panel on your roof, because selling it back to the grid, you're going to be making a lot of money that way, and it makes the installation of the solar panels pay off much faster. One last thing that I'll mention is this real-time pricing becomes particularly important as we move more and more towards wind power. The wind is not always blowing at an equal rate at all times, and that's going to influence the price of electricity. And we have the ability, we have the technology to understand what the rates are going to be well ahead of time, or at least days and hours ahead of time. And with a real-time pricing strategy, what we're able to do is increasingly use more and more electricity, because it's not necessarily a case that the wind's not always blowing and that we have no control over our demand. The reality is we have a lot of control over our demand. If we have 100,000 people doing loads of laundry when electricity is plentiful, as opposed to when it's not plentiful, that's going to save us a lot of money. It's going to save us a lot of added capacity that we have to build, and it's also going to take a lot of carbon emissions and mercury emissions out of the air that would otherwise be there.